And like you mentioned, the touchdown where he scrambled for it, it was only like 2 or 3 yards, but just his vision and his ability to see the lane when that lane opens up in front of you as a quarterback, some guys don't see that. Purdy's got good vision. He saw the lane open up, boom. It's easy yardage. He did that a few times running the ball when the yardage is there, easy yards in front of you, Purdy will take it. And I loved it. Great performance by the kid.
Man, Purdy, Purd is the word. Like, man, how many nicknames does he got now? Glock Purdy, the Brock is hot. We will Brock you. Like, hey, I want to get your guys is at some point in time your favorite nickname or all the nicknames y'all have heard. But man, this is amazing, man. You know, I actually went back down memory lane and I went and checked out some of my videos today, trying to get my first impression of him. And I went back to the Vikings preseason game and just to see some of the first things I said about him. And my first comparison, I think he did something similar in the Vikings game where he shook somebody up. And I was super juiced up. I was like, hey, chat, don't call me crazy, but man, this fool is giving me young Russell Wilson vibes, like, when in his younger days. And I was trying to hold back. It's preseason, this and that, but I had nothing but a gang of good stuff to say about Brock Purdy, and I'm kind of glad I did. It was just, and we're seeing it. We're seeing him being polished, quick on his feet, and it's just not, and it's not like he's quick on his feet and just running crazy like a Nick Mullins or taking 1,000 steps and not moving nowhere like Jimmy Garoppolo. This man is recognizing what's coming at him, how it's coming at him, what he's gonna do when it comes, how he's gonna get up out of there. He did that one little move where dude's coming at him and he dipped, or he kind of put his arm up, did a little swim move, dipped, rolled out, hit the pass. It's just sweet, man. This kid he's got all the legend behind him. I started thinking today, like, when was the last time we've been this excited as 49er fans? When was the last time there's been this much hype? And my first thought was Steve Young and Jerry Rice. And I was like, there might have been a time with Kaepernick when Kaepernick first came on the scene. And it was, you got Trent Dilfer talking about he could be one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Man, it's just awesome. Awesome to see. The Brock is hot.
I gotta say, what's good? I want to Brock and roll all night and Purdy every day.
Let's
That's one of
go.
my lines that I love to hear. But man, Brock Purdy, what I've seen from him and in the 7 quarters that I've seen is he's poised. The moment is not too big for Brock. Clearly, him starting 4 years in college has benefited him greatly. He's not afraid of the moment. Even if the blitz is coming in his face, he'll step in the pocket, he'll maneuver in and out, or he'll take the hit and deliver a throw. So dare I say that this 49ers offense looks better with Brock Purdy than Jimmy G. And it sucks to compare, but that's just life. You're going to compare a past relationship to a current relationship, a past job to a current job. And the eyes don't lie. There's no doubt that Brock Purdy, he fits the eye test. He passes the eye test. And obviously, I think we can all agree from what you see from Purdy, this guy should not have been a 7th round draft pick. This guy easily could have been, dare I say, a first, second, maybe 3rd round pick. And the 49ers were lucky to have him because I don't want to forecast too soon, but next year, 49ers training camp, Trey Lance versus Brock Purdy. It's going to be very interesting. Very interesting. I almost feel bad for Trey, but life is all about competition. You got to rise to the occasion and you got to beat the man next to you. So it's going to be very interesting next year, but I'm super excited from what I've seen from Brock. And let's see what he has the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs. But I'm excited from what I've seen from Brock.
Yep. I mean, normally when you look at, when teams have their starting quarterback go down and you have to transition to, a backup, a second string, third string, it's usually not smooth. And, the team goes
Season's
through ups
over.
and Yeah,
The
usually
season's
season's
over.
over.
Most often than not, the starting
Yeah,
quarterback goes down.
yeah.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. A lot of the time, right? The only time that I could remember is obviously Nick Foles, right? In recent memory, the only time is Nick Foles. And even then, it was just playoffs. Nick Foles went into the playoffs and he had that magical run. It wasn't full season Nick Foles had to carry and lead them to the playoffs. But usually it's not that smooth. Usually the transition to, a backup quarterback isn't smooth. Rather less than a third string quarterback in Brock Purdy. But for the most part with the Niners, it's been really smooth. Like you see Trey Lance, he got hurt, sadly. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, he's been looking great so far, right? Then Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. Brock Purdy came in last week, and Brock Purdy looked comfortable as the game went on. He got more comfortable. He looked poised in the pocket. He looked like he was playing backyard football. Like he looked like he was having fun, slinging the rock. He just looked comfortable. And even going into this game, right? I talked. We discussed it last week on Keltz's channel about can Brock Purdy be consistent with it? Can he be consistent? And obviously going up against Brady, going up against that Tampa Bay defense, I mean, he did that. He didn't make any mistakes. He made good decisions. He looked comfortable. He looked poised. He made the right decisions. He trusts his playmakers. And the Niners won the game. And credit to Purdy for a young quarterback to come in, having to take over this offense and having to, kind of be the last hope for this Niners team that we obviously is a playoff team that we have high hopes for to come in and step up and do what he's been doing so far the last 2 weeks. I mean, credit to Brock Purdy that takes, a lot out of a young quarterback. And so far he's risen up to the moment and he's done really, really well. So credit to Brock Purdy, and especially yesterday. I mean, he looked comfortable, made some nice throws to Christian McCaffrey. There was one throw where he ran and he found Deebo Samuel, and he made that throw near the sideline of Deebo Samuel. And I mean, in a way, he's kind of like a more more athletic Nick Mullins. In a way, I mean, people were throwing that out on Twitter last week against the Dolphins, but in a way, he is a more athletic Nick Mullins. And I will say, unlike Nick Mullins, I think he takes better care of the football than Nick Mullins did. So the IQ is there, not putting the football in harm's way. And that's what we need from Brock Purdy, right? Realistically, and that's what we needed from Jimmy Garoppolo, is that Brock Purdy, all you really have to do is get the ball to your playmakers, make the right decisions, and play mistake-free football. That's all you need. Just be a good game manager. The same thing that we were talking about Jimmy Garoppolo when Brock Purdy was on the bench. Just don't make mistakes. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. And for the most part, Brock Purdy hasn't screwed it up, and he's been playing really, really well. So credit to Brock Purdy, and hopefully this Purdy mania can continue.
Let's
I
go.
would add that Brock Purdy, he did throw an interception in last game. He did technically throw an interception in this game as well,
back, yeah.
but it got called back. But I was going to say
it was right to the linebacker.
It was, and I would say that I'm okay with that if he throws an interception a game, as long as he throws 3 touchdowns. Like I'm fine with that, because at least he's willing to throw the ball downfield. He at least is a threat to the defense to throw the ball deep, and so I'm willing to live with that as long as he can still, have at least a few touchdown passes with 1 INT. That INT won't kill us, especially when the defense is playing, so great.
Hey, I did also want to add, like, hey, it was just a few weeks ago we were talking about, man, can we score 23 plus points? Can we score 23 freaking points, right? We're back-to-back 30-point games with Mr. Irrelevant. Like, let's go. It's like I did some research, excuse me, and I think it was half in the middle of last season we had was the last time we had back-to-back 30-point games, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't mostly due to Garoppolo, even though he was a part of that. I thought it was going to be a lot further back. But hey, back-to-back 30-point freaking Molly Whoppings with a good old Brock, man. It's dope.
Yep. And the thing about Brock Purdy is that he's willing to take risks, right? Sometimes he's willing to push the ball downfield. He's willing to take those deep passes. And even if you look at that Dolphins game last week, there would be times where he would fit it in such small holes. And I touched on it last week, but a lot of the time when you're a quarterback, especially a young quarterback, trying to impress your coaches, trying to, gain the respect of your teammates and trying to, win the game, obviously, a lot of quarterbacks don't take that risk. They play conservative. And you look at Brock Purdy last week and even this week, he's willing to take those shots. He's willing to, make those throws in small coverages and in small. I can't explain it right now. I'm losing my words. But in small windows, exactly. Thank you, Keltz. But in small windows, right? So Brock Purdy's definitely not afraid to, take the risks. And for the most part, it's paid off. And some of the things that he did, right? Obviously that pass to Deebo Samuel, that pass to McCaffrey, that pass to Ayuk. And I love the aggressiveness from Shanahan in that situation. He'd go for it. He went for it, and it ended up in a touchdown. Credit to Brock Purdy for getting it there, and credit for Ayuk he ran a nasty route on that play. That route was nasty. The defender was, I think it was Jamal Dean. He was covering air, and then he had to go and chase down Brandon Ayuk. But Brandon Ayuk had a nasty route on that one. But
I just wanted to
Brock Purdy definitely
mention
did things.
the offense looks good when the play caller trusts the quarterback. And I think
Yes,
that's
it
what
does.
we've seen, in the first half. I think there was, a minute left or whatever. I thought the 49ers, I thought they would be conservative. They already had a 21-0 lead. And then you saw Kyle Shanahan call specific plays that allowed Brock Purdy to throw the ball down the field. So it's great to see when Shanahan trusts Brock in certain situations. And it's great to see.
And you saw that the first play of the game. I mean, the first play of the game, obviously that was a sack, but you saw Brock Purdy calling audible the first play of the game, and even the reporters, not the reporters, but even the commentators were saying it was a run play, and Purdy audible. And a lot of the time you don't see that, right? Because Shanahan doesn't have enough trust in his quarterback to make see what the defense is giving you and make a, change, call an audible, and he did that the first play of the game.
Yeah, probably
Right?
should have kept that one a run.
How
He
much?
could've honestly, he got smacked. He got
Hey,
smacked, right? He
Hey,
got
but what?
smacked.
Hey, but what did he say the game before? Once he took that first hit, I instantly tweeted, "Okay, he's awake now," because he's that kind of competitor where he likes that stuff, bro. Like me, in a way, I'm a little bit of a different breed. My son is as well, to where sometimes, we like to be rough, man. We like to kind of hit each other. We'll just for no reason kind of do certain aggressive things, and Brock Purdy seems like that kind of a dude. I was kind of like, man, I wonder if he took a shot just to be like, all right, it's go time, it's game time. Who knows? We'll find out in 10 years from now the real story behind some of these things, but it'd be kind of funny if he took that shot on purpose. I know it sounds crazy, but there are different breeds out there.
Yup. Well, moving on, let's talk about the positives. Obviously Brock Purdy was a huge positive, but we haven't obviously talked about the defense. But I want to get some of your guys' positives from the game, whether that might be defense, whether that might be a specific player, Christian McCaffrey. That might be one player that we could talk about when in terms of positives on the football field. But what were some of your positives from the game? And I want to start off with Jay on this one. Let's start off with Jay, then we go to Keltz and Baller. But let's start off with Jay. What were some of your positives from this game?
Hey, absolutely. There's a lot of positive you could choose from this game. Obviously, the defense was fantastic. A lot of skilled players were fantastic as well. But Dre Greenlaw, I mean, this this guy is a madman. Roaming the field with Fred Warner. I know Fred Warner gets a lot of publicity, and he should. I know Huff gets a lot of publicity, Mooney Ward, but Dre Greenlaw definitely, he could arguably probably be like one of the most improved players. And I think he has been really good so far with the 49ers, but I think his play has leveled up. It's definitely ratcheted up. He should be like an all-pro player consideration. I know there's other bigger names out there, specifically the guys we just played, Levante David, Devin White, those guys. But, Dre Greenlaw, I love his impact on the field. I love the way he plays with a physical nature. And earlier on in the season, I was critical of him because sometimes he could be too aggressive. He could be too riled up. But I think he's kind of tempered down, but he's still playing super physical. And obviously he had a great pick yesterday on TB12. And that was a cool moment at the end of the game where Tom Brady was nice enough to actually autograph the football that Dre Greenlaw picked off. So that was a pretty cool moment. And but yeah, praise to a lot of players on the squad, but I got to single out Dre Greenlaw in this game and the impact he's having on this defense. And that was money well spent for the 49ers to sign him before free agency this offseason, because with his play, he might have been able to get some more dollars on the open market. But fortunately, we signed him for I believe the next 2 years. So yeah, Dre Greenlaw, beast. Love watching him play.
Yeah, man, I have to double up, man, because that's the guy I want to talk about is Dre Greenlaw. Just man, Love it. I've been comparing him the past couple of weeks to Draymond Green. He feels like the Draymond of this defense. um, yeah, man, it's just Dre Greenlaw. Man, he's a monster. He's keeping it calm, cool, and collected though too. He's flying around. It feels like he's just reading everything to the fullest. It started becoming reminiscent to Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman. I think toward the end of Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman's career, it felt like Bowman was starting to become almost equally as good as Patrick Willis, or he started to kind of, level up and surpass him lightweight toward the end there. And it's starting to have that same kind of feel. It's starting to feel like 1A and 1B, or both of them 1A, when it comes to Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. He should definitely get some recognition for All Pro. I know it's still kind of early and whatnot, but I mean, this man had what, 15 tackles? Uh, you know, did the tip drill, intercepted it, just that awareness. And like Jay said, he got the ball signed. And then just even in the presser, to be humble enough to say, hey man, I ran up on him like a fangirl. It's like I feel like a fanboy right now toward the 49ers. Like some of the funnest times we've been in, everything is positive. Special teams, haven't said nothing bad about them. We're putting up touchdowns, um, going for it, at the end of the half. Just the trust, the whole vibe of the San Francisco 49ers are clicking on all freaking cylinders. It's props to Shanahan. I was stupid hard on him in the beginning, of the year and whatnot. And props to, Lynn. I know people was like, hey, where's Anthony Lynn's fingerprints on the game? It's like I just think there's intangibles that are like undetected that you won't always see on paper. That there's just a vibe of really good men that just got tremendous stories. They're dogs. Brian Greasy, Brian Snyder. Props to Lynch. Just the whole right now. I don't want to get so juiced up where it feels like I'm talking like we just won a Super Bowl or something, but it just has all the vibes that it is trending that freaking way. Let's go. Just I could keep going on and on about the positives of this game. So I'm gonna stop there. Hit it up, baller.
No doubt. And Rich, we're on the same page in terms of praising Anthony Lynn, because I had written that down as a positive. And really, it was the Anthony Lynn, Chris Forrester, the offensive line coach combination, and the O line.
Let's go.
Because I thought the run game was sensational. They were making some big holes for McCaffrey and Jordan Mason to run through. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, he needs to be mentioned in the positive section. Was rushing for over 8 yards a carry. We know he caught the long touchdown where he just burned the DB down the sideline. What was interesting about that play was how George Kittle was in the backfield.
Yeah.
So it was just a new look, and it worked. I mean, hell, turned into a touchdown. McCaffrey also ran like a 40-yard touchdown run. He was spectacular, but really everything was in sync with the offensive line, so I wanted to give props to Chris Forrester and the run game, Anthony Lynn, because that was big time. Even Jordan Mason looked good. I want to mention him. I think Jordan Mason should get even more touches. What did he have? He had 11 carries for 56 yards. So
steady.
Yeah, Jordan Mason looked good. Debo was making plays before he went out. I know we'll probably touch on that here soon. But McCaffrey, and then just the whole run game in general, because they were opening up some big holes on this Buccaneer defense.
Got to give just quick thing on Shanahan. I mean, I think he deserves a lot of credit as well. I mean, this team got off to a really slow start. I think that's kind of an understatement with losses to Denver and Chicago and Atlanta. And now this team is on a 6-game winning streak. So definitely credit to Kyle, keeping this team together. I mean, having 2 starting quarterbacks go down and basically be out for the duration of the season, having a Mr. Irrelevant quarterback. And I know there was this knock on Shanahan where he hasn't really developed a quarterback. I think, part of Shanahan, credit to Brian Greasy for, getting Brock Purdy up to speed with this playbook. And Brock Purdy is playing pretty well. So credit to Brock Purdy, but also credit to Shanahan and this entire coaching staff. I think we had 14 new coaches that were hired this offseason. So that's a lot of turnover. And credit to Shanahan as well for being able to develop a coaching staff. We've seen several coaches under Shanahan get promoted to being a head coach. The names. So yeah, credit to Shanahan. He hasn't won the big one yet, but I'm giving him his flowers right now. That's for sure.
And to your point, Jay, I'm sure Jay, you've heard me mention it a lot of times, but the guys they brought in, majority of them have Super Bowl rings, and I'm pretty sure that was purposeful. Brian Snyder, Nick Sorensen, both won a ring in Seattle. Anthony Lynn, Brian Greasy, both won a ring with the Broncos, and they did it together. So it's not like you're bringing all these guys from these, so it's kind of like you're getting many families and just the whole vibe, man. It feels all purposeful. We weren't able to do this in 2020 when we faced all this adversity with all the injuries. And you're seeing year by year, brick by brick, we're correcting the wrongs. And last year felt special, and this year feels even more special. And I hope we pull it out, man.
Yep. I mean, the Shanahan coaching tree is phenomenal, right? You obviously kind of touched on it, Jay, but like Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel, Robert Saleh, and this year potentially D'Amico, who I think most likely will get a head coaching job this year. So D'Amico, the Shanahan coaching tree, people talk about Belichick or Reed or this person, but Shanahan has a really impressive coaching tree, and especially when you look at the last couple of seasons with Robert Saleh leaving, and then Mike McDaniel leaving the next year, and then potentially D'Amico leaving the year after that. Shanahan, credit to Shanahan for that one. I want to give a shout out to a couple of people in the chat. We got Helmet to Helmet 49ers podcast, the 49ers podcast. Go check them out if you haven't already. Helmet to Helmet 49ers podcast. That's a son-father duo podcast. They talk about the game. They're very informative. Talk about the injuries. Talk about what happened in the game. Do preview shows. Do game recaps right after the game. So go check out their channel if you haven't already. Helmet to Helmet 49ers podcast. We got David McNew in here. Always in here, always showing love, always showing support. Thank you, David, for tuning in as always. Shifty's 49ers Talk, another 49ers channel. Go check out his channel. He streams the game and talks about he streams the game. Okay, he does watch parties on Sundays and does different games. I think he did Jets and Bills this week, and he did a couple of other games. But go check out Shifty's 49ers Talks if you haven't already. And if you're a 49ers fan, go check out Shifty if you haven't already. And then we got Big Play Slay, now known as Franchise, in here. He said, "Yo, what's good? This is Big Play Slay. I changed my name. Forgot to tell you, why is Brock Purdy playing this good?" Man, yeah, you're right. I'm messing up his name. Now I'm saying Brock and Glock, and I'm mixing those two together, and I'm like Block Purdy, and it's just this whole like tongue twister in a way, but. He says, "I thought Brock Purdy was terrible. This man in 2 games has fit in the system so well. He sure has." And he said, "This ain't the same Brock Purdy I saw at Iowa State. The swagger is there for him right now. Y'all are the only team that gives me a scare in the NFC." And he says, hashtag fly, Eagles fly. But let me give you my positives about this game. I want to say this before I talk about the defense, is that credit to the special teams and credit to Brian Schneider. Because early on, the special teams was okay. You obviously know they addressed the special teams. And it's not necessarily this specific game, but I think the special teams has definitely improved as the season goes on. And there's not enough people talk about the special teams. So I want to give props to Brian Schneider, because the special teams, I feel like it was okay early on. You were talking about like it wasn't really that much of a difference from the high tower, moving on from high tower. But I think the special teams has gotten better game by game. So credit to Brian Schneider for that. But this defense. Obviously, Dre Greenlaw had himself a game, and it's great that the Niners already signed him to a 2-year, because the way that he's playing right now, he definitely could have gotten a little bit more money than what the Niners are paying him for those 2 years. So great job by John Lynch, great job by Shanahan for signing him before he decided to have these amazing performances. But this defense is just phenomenal. Like, we know it. This defense is phenomenal. What they did to Brady, what they did to that Tampa Bay offense. We know that Tampa Bay offense struggles already because of the injuries that they have on their offensive line. I thought their offensive line held up. They held up for the most part. They weren't great, but they weren't, horrible either. So credit to the Bucs offensive line, but I mean, this defense continues to dominate. They only allowed 7 points the whole game. I mean, this defense has just been so dominant this year, and that's what you need, right? That's what you need, is that going into the playoffs, and even if you just look at Shanahan and Lynch teams when they have these successful years and we don't have, a plethora of injuries, is that this defense is really the strong point, and this defense really, it carries the team in a way, and this defense is really that one strong point compared to the offense. But I mean, in this game, the defense is their thing, and so did the offense, right? And the only other time that we saw it this year was against the Rams, obviously. And I think one more game, the Cardinals game. So it was the Rams and the Cardinals game, and now you have this other one against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where your defense plays lights out, and so does your offense. And then one other positive about this game is Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Christian McCaffrey had himself a day. We got to talk about him, later on in the stream. But Christian McCaffrey, I mean, obviously helps Purdy with the checkdowns. Christian McCaffrey had some nice runs, found some holes, had some nice big runs, 30-yard, 40-yard runs, took it to the house near the, third quarter. I mean, Christian McCaffrey had himself a day. And Christian McCaffrey, for the most part, has been able to stay healthy. And Christian McCaffrey has been a real game changer so far for the Niners. And this is like he had 2 touchdowns this game. He had the 3 touchdowns against the Rams. I mean, Christian McCaffrey has been a game changer for the Niners. So far, that trade, it looks like the Niners won that one for the most part so far.
Hey, just to touch on what you were talking about, the defense, man, I heard a stat today where I'm trying to, maybe I heard it on the radio where they said, I think we have 8 shutout halves this year. And I think that's the first time something like that has been done in 52 freaking years. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. They were bringing up stats of 1991 defense. I can't remember what it's about, but when you start getting in that kind of territory, and we keep thinking, hey, is this an elite defense? This, that, and the other. Hey, we're never going to be perfect. It kind of reminds me of what Jay was saying about Purdy. Like, hey, as long as he's giving us 3 touchdowns, that pick is okay. That it kind of reminds me of this defense, the bend don't break. But like Hufanga, he might get burnt once a game, but at the same time, as long as he's making more positive plays, and it's deep. Oh man, it's just freaking phenomenal.
Yeah.
True.
And I mean, even when you look at, teams in the past that have won a Super Bowl with, a backup quarterback, or, and obviously I'm going to go there, but the Ravens with Trent Dilfer. I mean, you look at the Ravens with Trent Dilfer, I mean, that defense was that strong point. That defense, what had a huge impact in that team's success. And the same thing goes here. I mean, this defense has had a huge impact this whole entire year. And going into the playoffs, this is the defense that we need, right? This is the defense that dominates, that, makes opposing quarterbacks' lives hell, and that, just, limits the offense as much as they can. And especially with the young quarterback, I mean, that definitely helps the young quarterback in Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy has been playing well, right? So I'm not going to, not give him credit for that. But it definitely helps when you have that many playmakers on offense and when your defense is so dominant. If the Niners, clinch this week, clinch the NFC, and you go into the playoffs and your defense is playing like the way that they've playing this whole season, it definitely makes life easier, not only on your quarterback, but your offense as a whole. Let's talk about, we talked about the positives, but let's talk about the negatives. I mean, you obviously have to talk about the negatives. And before we jump into primarily the negatives, I want to talk about one huge thing that happened in the game, and that was definitely a negative for a lot of Niners fans, especially when the cart came out and I was all worried, and I know a lot of Niners fans were worried. But Deebo Samuel got hurt, and Deebo Samuel, the cart came out, and everybody was putting on Twitter. I think Jerry Rice also posted on Insta first Trey, then then he posted this thing on Insta, and then he said now Deebo, and I thought it was serious, right? When the cart comes out, like you're worried, because when the cart comes out, the player can't walk up on their own feet, and something, most of the time something serious happened. But luckily, it wasn't that bad. He has a knee sprain and an ankle sprain. He should be back sometime in the regular season. And I am actually going to have Dr. Narav Pandya on tomorrow at 7:15 to talk about the Deebo injury and to talk about if Trey Lance potentially can return. So be here 7:15. If you got nothing to do, be here 7:15 tomorrow. That'll definitely be a fun show. But it wasn't as bad as a lot of fans thought it would be. But here's my question that I asked to the crew. Is that what was your reaction when Deebo Samuel got hurt? Did you think it was season ending? What was your whole reaction while watching the game? And number two, how big of a loss is Deebo Samuel? If they don't get him back for, let's say, another 2 or 3 weeks, how big of a loss is Deebo Samuel to this offense and Brock Purdy? Let's start off with Keltz on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna spit it real, man. Like I typically always do. So man, I got a little bit of ADHD and my mind goes all over the place sometimes, especially when something crucial happens. So initially, I'm, devastated like everybody else. And then I instantly have a feeling of, like, man, this is like almost a numbing feeling, like again, like Trey and Garoppolo, now him. And then so it was kind of like, devastated. Then I have that numb feeling. Then I like instantly got kind of rejuvenated. Like, man, this team just feels like nothing ain't gonna stop this team. It freaking sucks. Of course it does. But it just has that vibe of like nothing ain't gonna it just feels like this team is just something else this year. And of course, and then me personally, I always I'll sit right there and just throw out some prayers. That's just how I get down. And then to answer the second part of the question, and props to having that guest on. I believe I think I messaged him before, and he was really cool. He messaged back right away, so that's pretty cool. And you got a dope fade, Amin, by the way. See, the ADD's already kicking in. But yeah, man. And then after that, I just felt, I just felt like nothing is gonna stop this team. And then the second part of missing Debo for a couple of games, it just feels like we didn't have CMC last year. Ayuk wasn't as good last year. We didn't have a Jordan Mason. Hey, and shoot, man, now we got a quarterback that looks polished and confident and not skittish, and it feels even that trust, and Kyle has the trust in him. So it just feels like there's a lot more positives. And then this defense is probably, in my opinion, the best that Shanahan has had. The coaching staff, probably the best that we've had. So that's where I was rejuvenated and like, hey, man, this sucks. Oh my God, he's down for the year. Not again, but this team ain't gonna stop. This team is not gonna freaking stop. Debo is heart and soul. You've seen him getting carted off. I think some of those tears were not just the injury, but I think some of those tears were how much he loves the game. Like, man, I do not want to be out, man. I need to be a part of this team. Like, man, I love this. This is my pride and joy right here. I love the game, so that's why, he's an emotional dude and I love to see that. And yeah, man. So I'm gonna just, stop it right there. Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw the Debo injury, the first thing is that, I'm looking at my buddies and my brother. I'm saying, man, that injury, it looked bad, right? Just the way he got bent back and the angle of the knee. So I was like, oh, man, and the car comes on. Yeah, so it was nerve-wracking. Sounds like overall the news that we heard today is pretty positive. I feel like in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
As long as we have Debo healthy come playoff time, that's when I want him back and feeling good. I feel like we can get by the next few games with with McCaffrey, with Ayuk. Ayuk should have an increased role. And then the emergence of Jordan Mason. I mean, I think you can make an argument that Debo didn't really need to be running the ball in that situation because Jordan Mason has been running good. McCaffrey was gashing the Buccaneers for yardage. But I understand it. Debo's a weapon, so I'm not saying like, no, you shouldn't have gotten the ball. Debo's a weapon. You want to get the ball to your weapons. I think it's just an unfortunate thing, but then we're going to be all right. You just hope Debo's feeling good come playoff time.
Yeah, whenever the cart comes out, it's never a good sign, and you're just thinking, oh man, he's going to be out for the rest of the year. As Keltz and Bay Area Baller mentioned, it looks like he's going to be out for a few weeks. If I was Shanahan, I wouldn't want him to really play the rest of the regular season. Maybe put him in the last game of the season just so he's not rusty for the playoffs. But we need Debo for the playoffs. I think we should be fine the rest of the games with CMC. And that's another thing I was thinking. Thank God we traded CMC because Elijah Mitchell went down. Now Debo went down. So CMC is obviously the best player on the field, even with arguably even with Debo on the field. So thankfully we have CMC, and thankfully that Debo Samuel's injury is not season ending, because it definitely did not look good. But yeah, hopefully he can heal up, be ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, but I want to touch on David McNew's comment real quick. He said we are a deep team. Next man up, Danny Gray. Danny Gray got his first NFL catch yesterday, so I want to give some shout out to Danny Gray real quick. Danny Gray got his first catch yesterday, so yeah, get that in there.
I would love to see more of Danny Gray, but him and Debo do different things. So
yep.
you know.
I mean, I was scared. I was scared of that yesterday. I mean, when the car comes out, you're like, oh no. And like Niners fans, we saw that with Trey Lance this year, right? You're like, the car comes out, and you're like, oh no, he's done. He's done. And the same thing with Debo. You're like, oh no, Debo just got his contract this year. Hasn't had a phenomenal year. And then the car comes out, you're like, oh no. I thought, honestly, I thought I thought he tore his ACL or something major happened, or he broke something or something. The way that it looked, especially when the car comes out, I thought it was season ending, and it really didn't look good. But then there was some optimism today, right? Obviously with the news that he can come back, sometime during the regular season. So it's great, but I think we will be fine without Debo Samuel. And to be honest with y'all, I mean, Debo Samuel, he obviously had that rushing touchdown, against the Bucs, but he hasn't been as involved or as big of a part, or hasn't played as big of a role in the offense this year than he has last year, comparatively to last year, right? So compared to last year, Debo was pretty much just offense, especially nearing the end of the season, right? Just how near the end of the season this year, like Debo was pretty much the offense. The offense evolved and revolved around Debo Samuel and him being used in the backfield and him just dominating and using his legs and being a weapon and being a gadget player. And this year, Debo has kind of had a down year, right? And this Niners offense, even the games where you look at the Niners offense, have put up 30, they've put up, have these really great games offensively. Debo has played a part in them, but he hasn't, played a huge part in them compared to last year. So I think we'll be fine without Debo Samuel, and it definitely helps to have Christian McCaffrey, who's been huge for the Niners so far. Obviously, you kind of touched on it with Ayuk. I don't know if I would say Ayuk is definitely more polished and more developed as a receiver compared to last year, but I would say Ayuk is definitely getting used more in the offense than that last year. Last year was mainly the Debo show. This year it's Ayuk. This year you see CMC. The ball's getting spread around more. So I think Ayuk is definitely getting involved in the offense more, and there's definitely getting more balls thrown to Ayuk this year than last year. So Ayuk is definitely has a bigger role in this offense compared to last year. So I think it definitely helps. And I just hope Debo can come back for the playoffs, right? Come back healthy for the playoffs, be healthy. Because that's when we can use you, right? That's when we can use you. That's when we really need you. Debo is in the playoffs. So that's really, even if he doesn't play for the rest of the regular season, I just really hope he can come back healthy and be 100% healthy. For the playoffs. And Helmet to Helmet 49ers podcast asked, should we still put Debo at running back? And I don't know if the whole table will agree with me, or the crew will agree with me. But I mean, I wouldn't say to put him as running back. I don't. Obviously, you look at this year, and they haven't put him at running back as often as they did last year. I would still put him as running backs on certain occasions. But I'll just be straight up, and I know some fans might get mad at me, but I think a huge part in why the Niners paid Debo is when they used him in the backfield and how effective he was last year. Debo is not a guy that I would pay $73 million or however much they paid him just if he played wide receiver alone. And that's just me. And I know some of y'all might agree with me. Some of y'all might not agree with me. But I wouldn't pay Debo $70 million to just be a receiver. Just be a wide receiver. Don't be using the backfield. Just be a wide receiver. Like, I wouldn't pay Debo the way that the Niners paid Debo. The way that the Niners. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, it's absolutely fair, man. But I'll let you finish. Sorry,
The
go
way
ahead.
that the reason why the Niners paid Debo was because the way that he was used last year and how he was so effective in the backfield. I mean, that's a huge part of why the Niners gave up the money that they gave up for Debo, right? Because he was a huge part in this offense last year. The offense was successful when he got going, and how unstoppable Debo was in the backfield last year, and how effective it was offensively. That was a huge part of why the Niners paid Debo. But I wouldn't pay Debo just
I mean,
purely that.
the first touchdown of this game against the Buccaneers was Debo running the ball.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's still effective. He got a
It's still
toss and
effective.
took it,
Yeah.
hit the edge, and scored up the first touchdown of the game.
Yeah, but it's definitely still effective, and that's the thing. To answer the question is, I would still put Debo at running back. Now, would I put him as frequently as I did it last year? No, and I don't think there's even a need to put him as frequently as you did it last year. Would I still utilize him in the backfield? Yes, because that's where Debo's the deadliest. That's where he's the most lethal, is in the backfield and being used as a running back. So I would still do it. I just wouldn't do it as
There,
much as
I
did
would
it last
disagree.
year.
There, I think anytime Debo can get the ball, whether it's at running back or receiver, he's dangerous. Anytime he gets, he's dangerous.
He is. I'm not arguing that point. As with the ball in his hands, whether the quarterback threw it to him or whether he's getting the handoff, he's still effective. He's still effective. He's still deadly. He's still, the yards after the catch. Debo's still a beast both ways when he has the ball either thrown to him or when he gets the handoff. So I won't argue that. I won't argue that point.
Yeah,
I think fans don't like when Debo runs up the middle. But this is part of the reason why you pay Debo. I mean, he is Weapon X. This is part of the reason why you paid him all those dollars, because he is a tone setter whenever he has the ball in his hands. And yeah, that first touchdown, it was like a toss sweep and ran to the outside. Like, that's where I think it depends, because Debo's not super fast, but that's where he probably would be his best, running and trying to run over corners and safeties rather than trying to run over defensive tackles and middle linebackers. But I think if he's honestly, what I've seen this year, he hasn't been really effective, or at least not as effective as he was last year. But that's because the surprise factor is not there. People know, hey, defenses know when Debo lines up in the backfield, okay, it's no surprise he might get the ball. I think his interior runs haven't been super successful this year, but obviously running outside, he'll probably be more effective. But I think, yes, Shanahan will continue to use Debo as a running back because that's where that's part of his value as a receiver and also as a running back, and being a tone setter and being physical at the point of attack. So, yeah, I think the Shanahan will still use Debo as a running back.
Yeah, I think they should, keep running Debo. It's like, man, there's so many factors. I think some folks get upset situationally when they're using them, when the score is a certain way, this, that, and the other. And maybe a few months ago, maybe I would have been like, "Oh my God, why are you running them up the?" But you know what? They did run it outside. Debo chose to cut it back inside, and then even to take that out of it, it is football. This is part of what makes Debo valuable. Like, he doesn't have the best hands. He doesn't have the best routes. Debo is a more solid dude. He is freaking a brick house. He is solid. That's probably part of why he didn't tear something. When you have a thick, when you're more of a solid dude like that, just, thighs, legs, ankles, all that, that's probably why he didn't get the season ending injury when he got bent back like that. And he's built for it. That's what makes him Debo. Like, I mean, ever since he was a kid, man,
Debo.
He got that Debo.
Debo.
He got that name. He got that name for a reason. And, hey, man, just what Jay said and each one of you guys said, it's, maybe it's kind of tough, because then I do see Jordan Mason and I do see these other players. I think more maybe use it sparingly, maybe wait until the playoffs come. Who knows? But now we're gonna have to wait till the playoffs come. I mean, there's always two sides to the coin. But initially, yes, keep using them the way you're using them. He's built different. He's different. He's wide back for a reason. He embraced the role. Shanahan knows what's up. It's football, man. It's a brutal sport. I wish he would have kept on taking it outside with Kittle, because it looked like it could have opened up for him, but he's seen something different.
Yep. This is a great question from Helmet to Helmet 49ers podcast. He says, why do you think Shanahan is only now opening his playbook for Purdy and never for Jimmy and Lance? Does Purdy have more of the tools that Shanahan covets?
I think it's too early to tell. I don't know how you guys feel. Well, we'll know soon, but I think it's too early to tell because there are plays where, Jimmy can throw the ball downfield, but he chooses to check down.
Yeah.
So I think Purdy, he's, dare I say, a gunslinger. He's willing to throw the ball deep. He's like Trey Lance, who wants to throw that ball deep and then he'll go back to his check down. Whereas Jimmy is kind of, he looked to the left, he looked to the right, and then he hits that check down. But yeah, so I think it's too early to tell. I think.
I don't know how y'all. Okay, you want to go, Keltz?
I think he is opening it up. I think Purdy is just making better reads. I think Purdy is more intelligent. And we heard this a year or two ago where John Lynch and Shanahan said, dang, Jimmy isn't as bright as I don't want to mess the words up, but said something along the lines. Hey, he's not as smart as we thought he was. And you could see it on the field when you're playing. I think the calls are very similar. I think Brock Purdy is just executing it, reading it. You can see him when he's dipping out of you can see the way he's manipulating defenders that have been playing this game for like years. He's playing against Levante David and I forget his first name, White. He's playing versus a top-notch defense, man, and this man is manipulating the field with his eyes, making reads. Yeah, man. So I think it has more to do with Purdy's intelligence, awareness, and heart. So it's just the way I see it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if necessarily the playbook is now being opened up. I'm more with Jay's mindset of the playbook's been opened up, but it's what's the quarterback going to do with the ball? Is he willing to throw downfield? And one thing I want to say with Purdy, he's got great touch. He can layer these throws. He's dropping them in the bucket. He doesn't have a cannon necessarily, at least not that I've seen quite yet, where he really zips in a 20-yard dig route on a line. We'll see. Maybe he can do it. Not saying he can't. But really, you're seeing the touch throws, and he's been pretty accurate. I think the playbook's already been open.
You're making me think, bro, of when Shanahan said, I want someone kind of like Lamar Jackson and Drew Brees. I'm not saying no Lamar Jackson, but he's had little flashes. He's had little flashes of being quick on his feet, on being able to.
I like your Russell Wilson. He's like a little mini Russell Wilson.
Hey, Baller, where did you have, what was your overall pre-draft evaluation of Lamar Jackson? I would love to know.
Oh, I liked Lamar Jackson. I can pull up some tweets. I'll send them your way.
Like Lamar Jackson, send it to the group. Send it to the group. I would love.
I will.
I would love to see
Lamar. Lamar was so freaking dynamic at Louisville. It was insane. And I've always had a thing for mobile quarterbacks dating back to Mike Vick. Mike Vick was one of my favorite players growing up. Anytime Mike Vick was, when he was on the Falcons,
all y'all used to play with him on Madden. That's the thing. Madden. I know everybody here. If they played Madden, all of them would just use Mike Vick and Madden.
And I'm not even talking about Madden. When Mike Vick had a nationally televised game, because I didn't have NFL Red Zone back then, right? You didn't get to see every game. You had to wait till a player you wanted to see have a prime time game, like Jay says, and then you got to watch him. And when Mike Vick had a big time game, you got your popcorn because it was going to be entertaining as hell. Because that dude's on, and Lamar Jackson similarly is just on another level running the rock.
Yep. I want to say what I think on the what helmet to helmet 49ers asked. I think the playbook has already been opened, and I think Purdy's definitely making better decisions. Purdy's definitely making better reads. He's getting the football more accurately to his receivers. Than I would say Jimmy Garoppolo was. He's definitely making better decisions, and Jay kind of touched on it. Was that you look at some plays where there'll be a wide open deep receiver, or there'll be someone running deep, and Purdy's willing to take that shot, right? Where if you look at like the red zone yesterday, the pass to CMC. Whereas if the pocket collapsed, Jimmy might have tried to throw it to his check down or someone that was open running a slant. Purdy said, frick it, I'll make that throw, right? and I have to live with the outcome, and it ended up being a touchdown. But so Purdy's definitely willing to make those types of throws, whereas Jimmy wasn't in certain occasions. Now I will say this: I definitely do think Purdy is. I definitely think Shanahan is definitely has more trust in Purdy's ability to throw the football than Lance's, because if you look at just even though it was early on, you definitely saw like Niners would hand ball off so many times. Whereas even in this game, right, they gave the ball to their running backs, but you definitely see Shanahan definitely has more trust in Purdy's ability to throw the football and his ability as a passer than in Lance's, just based off the 2 games that you've seen so far.
But okay, here's my thing. I'm not disagreeing with you, but could it be that Kyle just liked Lance's mobility and wanted to utilize that aspect?
That
Not
could be a factor. That
necessarily
could be one of the reasons.
because
Yes.
it feels like everyone, they've been saying,
It's
Kyle
the
trusts
ceiling.
Purdy to throw the ball more. Well, it's no, Purdy doesn't have the same physical tools, rushing the rock that
Either
Lance has.
that, or he's more comfortable in Purdy throwing the football. It's either one of those two, right?
It's either one of those two.
Yeah.
Maybe
See,
it's a
what
little
we've
bit of a
seen-
combination.
From what
It's the
we've seen
ceiling
from
of
both
Trey.
quarterbacks, Purdy looks, he just
Way
looks
more
more poised. He looks more comfortable in the pocket.
Absolutely. Way more polished, way more comfortable. Hey, but that's going to come with playing
Lance.
3 times more the amount of games. I don't know the exact number, but he's played a ton more football.
Yeah.
And so I think with Trey, it's the ceiling. It's that ceiling. It's the capabilities of what he can eventually bring. Right now, Purdy is more poised. It definitely. I mean, I'm a huge Trey guy, but my eyes don't lie. I will be quick to, look and see what it is. He's poised. It looks. I took a big breath, I think, when Amin was talking, and the breath I took was, God, we've been waiting for this. Like, I'm not saying Purdy's the chosen one, this and that. Trey's done. Like, I hope we just continue to see great quarterback production. I don't care who it is. And the breath I took was, man, we've been waiting to see, just good quarterback production, and it feels like it's sustainable. It feels like it can be replicated and duplicated. And now let's go, man. No shots to, hey, if we didn't have Jimmy, Trey, or Purdy, none of this would be happening. It's unfortunate, the injuries. So,
And
Hey,
I
man.
want to mention this real quick, is that, to be fair though to Trey Lance, is that pre-draft everybody knew Trey Lance was a project, right? And a lot of draft analysts were saying he should have sat a year. He only had 1 full year at college. His second year obviously got shut down due to COVID. So naturally, when you look at Brock Purdy, I expect Brock Purdy to be a little bit more comfortable and to be a little bit more poised and to be a little bit more polished of a passer than Trey Lance, because he had those 4 years at college. He played at at a D1 school. So naturally, when you look at even quarterbacks, not even just with Brock Purdy, but when you look at quarterbacks that have 4 years of experience at a D1 school, that have multiple years of college under their belt, naturally they should be they should be a more polished quarterback early on than a Trey Lance or a Josh Allen coming out of the league, right, or coming into the league right away. So naturally, I mean, they should be a more polished passer. So, I mean, Purdy has looked good, but I mean, Purdy, I think I will say it definitely helps when you have that many years of college experience, when you have that the college years under your belt, and playing at a D1 school like Iowa State. I mean, it definitely helps. Whereas Trey Lance to only have 1 year, I mean, obviously you should be a better, more polished and more poised quarterback than, coming when you have those years of college experience.
Hey, to be fair to Trey, there were still things that he did in his limited amount of time that Purdy or Garoppolo still hasn't done. There were certain throws that I seen Trey Lance make that either one of those guys can't or
The
haven't
one
yet.
that the Cardinals game near the sideline. I think it was
There were some throws and some arm strength and big arm ability and still the way he moves. I feel like just to be fair to Trey, it's I can't wait to see what happens next year. It's going to be amazing if that truly is a quarterback competition, and I can't wait for it.
What's good? How you doing, KD, and everyone else in the chat? Appreciate you guys joining us tonight.
Yeah, appreciate Corey.
AD.
Corey's the man. Helmet to Helmet 49ers podcast says, I know this is off topic, but Matthew Judon got 1.5 sacks against the Cardinals, so he is tied with Nick Bosa in sacks.
Bosa was so close to having a sack on Brady.
They wreaked havoc. Hey, that might be the most pressure I've seen without just the production of the stats. You know,
It was like
no
no
sacks, but it was Menahu was
they were
getting
back
after
there all
him,
day.
Jordan Willis, Kerry Hyder. It was just a whole gang of Drake Jackson's batting passes. The defensive line, like you said, Keltz, the production wasn't there. No sacks on Tom Brady, but there were just bodies.
They were
just
there.
affecting Tom Brady, affecting his throws. He was feeling the pressure.
Oh yeah.
Brady wasn't the same after he got choked. It was all downhill from there.
No,
Aziz
Aziz was like, I saw that play and I was like, oh, whoa, that's going on the internet. Like he literally yelled.
Oh man, he who was that? The Big Show.
That's like a pressure point. He got his pressure point.
Oof, man, the Big Show.
I thought Aziz was about to pull out the choke
Undertaker.
slam. I thought he was about to do the choke slam. Exactly, the choke slam. He's about to go.
Well, I'm waiting for someone to do the Mankind. Just get a sock out and just shove it. Waiting for the Mankind.
I thought some smoke was about to come out from somewhere, some theme music. You know, wouldn't it get hecka dark when the Undertaker would come? Just
the graves, the lights off, everything.
Our team is lit. Our team is freaking lit, bro. It's dope.
Yep. One last question before we jump into the game picks. We obviously talked about the game. But I got this idea during the show. I mean, I got this idea. Thank you, Keltz, for giving me this idea. You said the defense this year has been the best under the Shanahan and Lynch regime. Mm-hmm. So I want to pose the question because I remember talking about it, during training camp before the season started, was that you look at this defense, they, obviously have better corners, better, it looks like a really good defense. What was your expectations going into the season? And for the most part, the Niners have been, have been really, really good. We obviously know that. But I want to ask you all the question. Is this the best defense of the Shanahan and Lynch regime? And 2019 is that? Do you think they passed that? Do you think it's better than the 2019 defense, or do you think the 2019 is still the best?
I'm gonna say as far as what I think's to come. I think they're gonna finish strong. And I think if they stay on this trend that we've been seeing, I think absolutely. Lenore, man, I feel like, man, it's like we've lost Mosley. We lost Verrett. I know Verrett wasn't there, but just the next man up. Greenlaw is elevated. Nick Bosa is elevated. Armstead, he's coming through healthy. And even when we have guys like Ridgeway or Hyder, it feels like there is just not one glaring weakness. We're number one across the board. We're getting the interceptions. We're getting we put in Tayshaun Gibson and regardless of getting burnt here and there, playing phenomenal. It feels like there's just not that one glaring weakness. Hey, this is where we're gonna attack. And I'm trying to really, really remember 2019. And it felt like there was sometimes you could pick on Richard Sherman, regardless of how well he did that year. There were times where he would be the guy that could kind of get picked on, and it happened in the Super Bowl, and it happened before the Super Bowl. And I'm trying to think, who was opposite him. I know there was K1.
I think it was Mosley.
It was Mosley.
It was Mosley.
Man.
I'm just talking about Nick.
It was young Emmanuel Mosley.
Oh, yeah, Mosley was
K1.
We could. Apples.
Y'all remember Akella Witherspoon? Y'all remember Akella Witherspoon from that year?
The pick 6 versus Tampa earlier in that season.
The only thing I remember from Akella Witherspoon, I'll be honest, it's really messed up. I think it was divisional game, Vikings, or was that Verrett? Or I think it was Witherspoon. Diggs had that route on him. It was Witherspoon. Diggs had that route on him, and I was like, oh my goodness, get Akella out the game. Get him out the game.
Witherspoon became on my shit list when there was a tight end. I'm trying to figure out what player it was, but a player was catching the ball like right at the goal line to score a touchdown, and Witherspoon was right there and could have put a hit on him, laid a shoulder on him, and Witherspoon wanted no part. He just got out of the way.
Footsteps.
And it was like Witherspoon, that was a soft move. And ever since then, It's like you do one of these, like Cam Newton not diving on that fumble in the Super Bowl just completely changed my mindset and opinion of Cam Newton, because that's a loose ball in the Super Bowl, and you're not going to go dive on. You're going to hesitate and like back off because what? There's 300 pounders. I'm diving on that ball.
Hey, I seen you tweet something, I think today, where you was like, "Man, I dive on the dang basketball court for free." Like,
Yeah, that
let's
was
go.
that was in the chat. That was in Grant's chat because he didn't like Brock Purdy
Oh, that's where I seen it.
diving. Yeah, shout out to Grant. Grant's the man, but I didn't agree with him there. He didn't think Brock Purdy should dive for a first down, and I'm saying, dude, I'd dive for the loose ball on the hardwood for nothing.
Let's go.
So you
Hey,
go get the first down. You got a chance of getting the first down. You go dive. You do everything you can. Now, I understand sometimes you do want to conserve your body, but diving for a first down, come on.
Yeah, he looked like he was protecting himself with the sideline. It's football. That's one of my, I think, after Jerry Rice, man, I just love Walter Payton. I just love watching the way, I never got to watch him live or whatever, but, just that heart, man. When you see someone with that kind of heart, it's you live by it and die by it. Like, look at Kittle. That's one of the greatest plays versus the Saints, and if Kittle would have got injured on that play, we might have a different tone, but it's like, hey, this is football, man. Hey, we could keep it soft in other sports, but it's football.
There's no question that the 2019 defensive line, I think, was better. I mean, you had Bosa, you had Armstead,
yes,
you had Buckner, you had D Ford when he was healthy, and obviously that was short lived, but and you had DJ Jones as well. So I think the 2019 D line was stacked.
Yes.
But unfortunately,
this one's good. But 2019, yeah,
2019 was better. Yeah, I think
who were the other two linebackers? It was Fred.
It was still Warner, Quan
Alexander.
Back, but he did not help us when he came back. Quan was playing with one arm out there.
Right.
He was missing some tackles. Like that was one of those things.
I like what David said. He said he said the every player that was on the 2019 defense that's still here is improved. So I do agree with that. Yeah. This secondary, I think, is better. I mean, Tashawn Gibson, I mean, he's really helped elevate this defense. Can't believe he was still a free agent. Like we just picked him up off the street. Huff, yeah, I know. Keltz, look at Huff. Yeah, Huff has been tremendous this year. I think overall, I think probably 2022. I give the edge to 2022. The linebackers are better. The secondary is better. I think the D line isn't as good as 2019, but I think those other factors are, what takes it over the top for me is the linebackers, the secondary. Yeah, and also Drake Jackson. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with Jay. Jay took the words out of my mouth.
Yep. I mean, I don't think, that defensive line in 2019, I mean, I don't think you could come close to that, right? Buckner, Armstead, Bosa. I mean, this was Bosa pre-ACL. And Bosa, post-ACL is still dominant. But Bosa pre-ACL, I mean, he was wreaking havoc. And he's still wreaking havoc.
I think he's better now. He's better now. But Buckner's the biggest. Buckner's a special player. I miss
Buckner was special, right? He's top 3 in his position, hands down.
Yeah. So we should have kept DJ Jones, but
DJ Jones. I mean, he was getting his money. Yeah, we let go a couple of free agents this offseason. But I mean, I don't think anything's coming close to that 2019 defensive line. But you look at this 2022. I mean, obviously, you look at the cornerback group. You have better corners than Charvarius Ward and obviously Mosley. And in 2019, you also had Mosley, but this is a more polished, better version of Mosley. And then obviously, if you look at the linebacker core with the C's, Fred Warner, and all of that, I mean, it's definitely better. So I would give the edge to 2022 just based off the way that they're playing. They're first in a lot of statistics, not having shutouts in a lot of the second half in the games in the second half, but. That 2019 defensive line was special. That was a special defensive line, and the players that you had on that defensive line, I mean, it was special. So I would give the edge to 2022, but the 2019 defensive line was something else. Well, let's do game picks. Let's jump into our game picks. We talked about the game. We talked about some other Niners stuff, But let's do our game picks. Keltz, you got the records. Oh my God, we got an appearance from Keltz's dog. We got Keltz's dog in the house. I never knew Keltz's dog was
Bro,
gonna pop up.
this man want to play so bad. He's bringing me hair ties, man. This man will play catch with anything, bro. It doesn't. He brings me my daughter's hair ties, man. Like, and he
Hey,
just
bro, what's his thoughts on Brock Purdy? Can we get the dog's thoughts on Brock Purdy?
What's up with Brock Purdy, Jack? You sit. He's like, man, you better flick that hair tie right now, dude. I've been waiting. He's freaking cool, man. He will play catch all day. He is annoying sometimes, though. I ain't gonna lie.
Well, what's our records? You got the records for us, Keltz?
Yeah, man. This week, hey, so we started a new week. Man, damn you, Cardinals. So we started a new one. Man, I hit 4-1. Baller came in 2-3. Jay went 2-3, and then you went 3-2. Amin. So
Patriots. Thank you, Bill Belichick. Thank you.
Man, I thought I was gonna hit on all 5.
Thank
man, I was
you,
kind of
Bill Belichick. The only one was the Panthers. Like, I'm happy, but I'm also sad because I lost my game pick. I lost the game for that, but then they also beat Seattle. You're the only one that picked them, I think, right?
Yeah,
You're the only one that picked them, and I was like,
the only one that picked them and the Chargers. I picked the
I should have
Chargers.
picked the Chargers. I was stupid.
Panthers.
I was naive and stupid to believe in Tua Tagovailoa. I was one of those people. I was stupid.
Doing the last man standing with Niner Sickness Beto, man. And even before doing that show, I know you have to pick. See, I should have. You just have to pick a couple underdogs. You're just gonna have to pick it there. It's never gonna be the teams that you think. You just got to pick and choose those underdogs wisely. But sometimes I get a little top heavy with my underdog picks, and that's where the Cardinals came and got me on that one.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the first game, Thursday Night Football. Our beloved 49ers go down to Seattle and Lumen Field and to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Who y'all got winning this game? Let's go with Baller. Who you got winning this game?
49ers. That's all you get. 9. It doesn't matter. Brock Purdy. It sounds like Brock Purdy. I know the chat's been asking, what do you guys think? Is Brock Purdy playing on Thursday? I think Brock Purdy's going to play, but even if he doesn't, I'm rolling with my boy Josh Johnson.
Let's go. Hey, it's 49ers. Hey, but I will say I think this is the biggest test. I think I said on the show last night, hey, this is going to be that true test. We've been at home for a minute, calm, cool, collected, comfortable. This is going to be the test. I said a few weeks back, we're going to see the Seahawks' true colors. I think they're fraudulent, regardless of their offense, regardless of whatever it is they're doing. It's 49ers. I think we are going to make them. I think, man, it just feels like we're going to put another molly-whopping down, just like we have the last 2 weeks. Let's go.
49ers versus Seahawks on Thursday Night Football prime time. I can't wait for this game. The Seahawks, I think we're meeting them right at the right moment. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. They're terrible against the run. They can't stop the run. I think they're like the second worst rush defense. So you know what that means for the 49ers. The Seahawks are very good in takeaways. They like to take away the ball. You look at their forced fumbles. You look at their interceptions. So it's going to be key for the Niners to hold on to that ball. Ball security will be a must. But of course, I'm going with the Niners. Niners all day, man. We taking it.
Yeah, Niners. Obviously, I'm a Niners fan. I'm going with the Niners. So let's
bang bang.
Let's clinch the NFC West. Let's do it on Thursday night. So
absolutely,
I'm going with the Niners. Moving on to the young buck, and who also has another a dope nickname, and Joey. Last year, people were calling him Joey Ice versus the GOAT. We got the Bengals versus the Buccaneers. Unlike Baller, I don't got the cool animations. Like, I don't got the the tiger sound, and then Baller's son having like the
what do you need, Ice?
Yeah,
Joey, you don't need to do that. I'm just do extra stuff.
What did they give Joey Burrow? I thought you did something like
Joey and Joey Ice. That's what they know.
There it is.
So I don't got the cool animations unlike Baller. Sadly, I don't. I don't got Baller's son going R, for the Buccaneers on my screen, But who we got winning this game? Who y'all got winning this game?
Bengals.
Bengals. All right, we got Bengals.
Are you going with the underdog here?
okay.
But
Tampa's the underdog, right or no?
Tampa Bay's the underdog.
This is the fight for the playoffs, man. I think the Bucs make a comeback, man. Yeah, I'm taking the Bucs.
Are you gonna go with your son's favorite team or JoJo Ice?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my kid's favorite team. I'm rolling with the Buccaneers. I think they're gonna get back on track.
I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I'm not gonna be risky here. I'm not gonna go with the underdog. Give me the Bengals.
How's the
Especially
Bengals?
T Higgins. I don't know. T Higgins.
How's their
T. Higgins,
defense?
hammy tweak. Well, hammy tweak. I don't know about T. I think Tyler Boyd got dinged up.
He's one of the most underrated players in the league.
Yeah, he's good.
Moving on, we got the 7-6 Tennessee Titans, and we got the 7-6 Los Angeles Chargers.
Go Chargers, go.
Oh,
Every time we talk about the Chargers, one of y'all gotta go and say that. Like every time.
I'm gonna take the Chargers. I'm gonna roll with Herbert. It sounds, the wide receiver core's been getting healthier the last week or two. I'm gonna roll with the Chargers.
I have not trusted the Titans for a minute. I was up on them a while back. Man, both these teams are fighting to get in too, huh? Especially this. You know what? This is where. Here, you go ahead. You go first. I mean, I might have
You're
to
putting me on the spot, Jay.
I might have to flip. I might have to flip for
Jay?
this one.
Let's see. We got Derrick Henry
Titans
going to
head.
SoCal against them good old LA Superchargers. I think it's going to be a really good game. Two teams battling for playoff position, but I gotta go Chargers, go.
Give me the Chargers. I think it'll be a close game. Titans are obviously desperate. So are the Chargers. But I gotta trust Justin Herbert. I mean, he's on my fantasy team, so obviously, if he could put up 4 touchdowns on that Tennessee Titans defense, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind at all. But give me the Chargers in this one.
All right, I'm taking a shot to try
He's gonna flip the George Kittle card again.
Yeah, I'm taking a shot, seeing if I could continue to build early ground. I'm taking the Titans, man. This is how you got to do it.
All right.
Shoot the shot. You win and live and die by the 3.
Kobe.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next game pick, we got the Curry jersey. That's a nice Curry jersey right there. We got the Commanders versus the Giants, both 7-5-1. I think last time these two teams faced, they tied. Who you got winning this game? Let's start off with Baller.
Yeah, good idea. I'm rolling with Danny Dimes. I know they're the underdogs. They're playing on the road, but give me Dimes, Saquon, and then a sneaky receiver who's been impressing me, Darius Slayton. He's kind of dropped some balls, but he gets open. So that trifecta of talent, Daniel Jones, Saquon, Slayton, that's who I'm rolling with.
I'm taking the Heineken, man. That's just what I've been calling them for a while. Yeah, I'm taking the Heine. I'm taking the Heineke.
Don't take my Heine.
Commanders versus Giants, Sunday night football, prime time. And they last played, if you can believe it, 2 weeks ago, and the game ended in a tie. And then last week, the Eagles went into New York and beat the brakes off them good old New York Giants. And I think the Commanders will win this game at home. And fellas, make sure you watch this game. This is a little film preview because we play the Commanders and they love to play the Niners. So I'm taking the Commanders.
Should I go Danny Dimes here? Should I go with my boy Taylor Heineke? I love saying that last name. That's a dope last name right there. Taylor Heineke. This is a tough one. Last time I picked the Giants, they let me down. But I'm going to go there again. I'm going to pick the Giants in this one. I think it'll be a close game. Please, Giants, do not let me down. I'm going with the Giants. Last pick of the day. We got a good one. This is a primetime game on a Saturday. the last time these two teams met, there was an upset. The Miami Dolphins beat the Buffalo Bills and gave them their first loss of the season. They're meeting again. Tua's kind of been struggling. Tyreek has an injury. Who y'all got in this one? The Dolphins or the Bills? I mean, even the Bills. The Bills offense, they've been struggling last game. Offensively, they struggled last game. Josh Allen wasn't having the best game last week. So this is going to be a good
It's
game.
in Buffalo, right?
It is
Buffalo.
Yeah.
Wintertime. It's cold.
I'm taking
Defense. Bills.
Bills.
Yeah.
I think this
The
is a
Bills.
wrap.
Have y'all seen Tua lately?
He's been
I mean,
horrible.
He's been terrible. Now he's got to go up in the cold against Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, and Tyreek, he's got a bum wheel. So hey, yeah,
It ain't no Miami weather down there in Buffalo.
Nope.
Remember that one time that Tua was like the MVP, and then he seen the Niners and was just never the same? No,
he got that antidote, man. He ain't
Yes,
been the
sir.
same.
Hey.
So I'm going Buffalo, easy.
Yeah, man. I like Miami, but it's
I love
hard.
Mike
They
McDaniel. That's the reason why I love Miami. I
They
love
let-
Mike McDaniel.
They kind of let me down last week. Offense hasn't looked good the last couple weeks, so for that reason, I got to roll Buffalo.
Yep. All right, well, that basically, that's a wrap, guys. That's a wrap. I appreciate everybody in the chat. We had a good amount of people up in here. David McNew, obviously, and Helmet 49ers podcast. The Camper Report, Franchise, aka Big Play Slay, Blue True. We had a good amount of people up in here. Appreciate everybody in the chat. If you haven't already checked out Barry a Baller, his YouTube link is in the description. Go subscribe to his channel. Go subscribe to Keltz channel. He reached 800 subscribers. He's been on the rise. So I know Keltz always like to say rise up, but
faithful. Rise up.
his subscriber count has been on the rise. So check out Keltz's channel.
You gotta hit them shorts. You gotta hit them shorts up.
The link is in the description for Keltz's channel, and the same here with Baller with Jay in the Base channel. His link is also in the description. So go check out his channel in the description. All the channel links are in the description. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please go do so. It would be greatly appreciated. And tomorrow I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow with Dr. Narav Pandya at 7:15 to talk about some of these injuries.
Is that at night or in the morning?
In the evening, and not in the morning. I ain't gotta wake up that early. And I got school.
After you, Amin, I'm gonna be live. 49ers fired up.
Fired up. Go check that out.
But you're going an hour? I might bump it to 8:15.
All right, I'll try to make. I don't know if we go an hour, but I'll try to not make it too long. But
no,
yeah, that basically wraps up the show. Straight Out of the Bay crew. Appreciate you guys joining me on my channel this Monday. Niners got a phenomenal W. And we'll see y'all next time. Go beat the Seahawks. And Straight Out of the Bay crew signing off for tonight. See y'all.
Peace.